You mean all these years I've been saying McCabe?
Tell them where they can buy it.
Your grocer's dairy section, where you buy cheese.
Followed by the phone number.
Not applicable.
Insert a sound effect for emphasis.
Wow, that Cabot cheddar is wicked sharp.
And if all fails, bribe the listening audience.
Buy Cabot Sharp Cheddar and win $1 billion.
With a disclaimer.
Not available in all areas.
So when you put it all together,
Cabot Sharp Cheddar.
people will know if you like extra sharp cheddar,
Sexy.
you'll love Cabot All Natural Sharp Cheddar.
Naked cows.
For Go Live with Cairo Qween. Thank you for joining me with Collabo Music. Collabo Live 106.5 FM. We're back once again to bring you a little nice live music. I want to thank all of you listeners out there in New York on Rhythm Up and the people out in Miami on the Heavy for joining us this evening. I want to introduce everybody to my guest that's in-house, Mr. JAZZMAN himself. Big Keet. He's going to be joining us this evening for our topic, what the hell is wrong with the jazz music industry? And what's the Band-Aid? And I also have on the line Mr. Dior Metcalf of Best of Atlanta Concerts. Dior and Keith, say hello to your listening audience.
Hello, how you doing? How are you doing?
All at the same time. So listen, we're going to come in talking about this. We're going to hit it hard and heavy this evening. We'll probably have some more callers calling in, looking for the promoters this evening. We're in part 3 of this conversation we've been running, every week. We really want to tackle the subject, and try to get down to the matter of what really is wrong with the jazz music industry. We're going to go right back to Melvin Jones really quick and finish out Funky Town Shuffle. We'll be back. Go Live with Cairo Qween on Collabo Live 106.5 FM. Want to say hello to everyone in the city of Atlanta, Lilburn, Lithonia, Stone Mountain, all of our listeners on the radio, and I want to say hello out there to you on the internet around the globe. We are joined this evening with two of my partners in crime right now. We have Mr. JAZZMAN himself on my right, and Dior Metcalf of Best of Atlanta Concerts. We are getting ready to break this down for all of you musicians worldwide who are watching us. We're getting ready to take this conversation to the head and beat it up.
Sounds good.
So listen, we talk about this stuff every day. I want to go straight to Dior, who is on the phone joining us live. And I would like to find out, Dior, what do you think? Better yet, what the hell is wrong with the jazz music industry, and what do you think the Band-Aid is?
What do I think is wrong with it? Well, no, I wouldn't even necessarily pin it just jazz, because I think it's more of a common thing with musicians and putting together events in general, is that a lot of it depends on what product you're presenting to the audience, for one. I mean, you got to be aware of how it looks to the people who you want to actually pay you money, which is the audience and consumers. So that would be one of the first things I always think about when I think about working with someone with the show, is to see what exactly are you doing with your show. I mean, what kind of show is it? Is it something that people want to pay money for? I mean, just because you can play music doesn't necessarily all the time mean that you should do a show, because there's a lot of competition out there, and it has to be something compelling, something unique, something interesting that makes a person want to go out and spend money on a particular show. So that would be my first thing I always think about when I talk to anybody about doing the show, is what's compelling about what you're doing to make people want to purchase tickets to that particular show.
I think I would agree with that. There are a lot of people who I hear all the time talk about what great musicians they work with and what wonderful music they make and how talented they are and how long they've been playing. But then when you put them on stage, it's a whole nother story. I mean, I've seen, I don't know how many people I could say that, and again, don't get me wrong, we have fantastic musicians that we put on stage. I mean, I know I do, right. But, right. There are a few that I would say, they don't know exactly what it is they're working with, and from a good side and from a bad side. Like, I have some geniuses that have no idea how good they are, and then I have people who are not so good that think they're great. And those who are not so good seem to be a lot more arrogant than the others who aren't as good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can understand, they are looking from a perspective, which is from an artistic point of view. And if you look at it strictly from that area, then you have a different criteria to which how to judge yourself and your show. However, the other half of the equation, they don't call it show business for nothing. You have the show part and the business part, which means how do you get people to be interested in what you have to sell, which is your entertainment.
Exactly.
Which is the most important part. You have to be able to differentiate what you are offering versus your competitors. And your competitors are other musicians, other shows, sitting at home, going to Home Depot, or going out to the movies. So what are you offering that's going to make people, compel people to want to go out outside of their house, out at nighttime, spend money, and not only do that, but interested and want to do that. So again, that starts with the show. You have to have a compelling reason for people to want to go and participate in your event.
And
so
this is the business
that,
aspect.
It's kind of all lost, and your talent is going to be lost if you can't do that basic part.
This is the business aspect that we're talking about now, getting into almost, I would say, the marketing side. And this is what we always talk about, JAZZMAN, about as far as like how these musicians don't seem to know. It's not when it comes to marketing themselves. And I mean, I can't say that about everybody because there are very few that seem to have it really together with the package deal. And it's usually, you know, not the really good ones.
Well, yeah, this is true. Because I have a lot of people that approach me. Just say, for instance, not even a business card.
Not even a business card.
Not a track on a CD. But they can sit and tell you, hey, I can play just as good as that guy over there.
And then dog them out.
And then dog them out.
Dog the person out.
But you have nothing to show.
Or to compare.
Represent yourself.
Right.
To compare with that individual. No YouTube. Well, like I say again, no track. No reverb.
No business card.
No business card. You know, come on. I said, you're your own business.
Yeah.
And you have to start off at least with a business card.
I mean, you have to realize that you every day are a product, and every time that you walk out the door, you are branding yourself to the universe. And I think that a lot of people miss that part because they feel like it's our job to do that.
Right.
Or it's the manager's job to do that. And I'm kind of like, if there's no manager and there's no promoter and there's nobody else there, you're still you, and you still have a mirror to look at every day.
What you guys are talking about is equally important. I guess what I would differentiate between what you're saying and what I'm saying is that for me, I look at it, since I do involved with a lot of shows, I look at it from how to market a particular show. You guys have come at it from more of a management perspective, where you say, how do I market this artist? So you're right in the sense that you have to have basically some information that lets people know who you are as an artist, whether it be a business card, the basics, or a CD, or some type of information online that basically can tell people what can they expect when they hear your music. So I agree with your point. So that's, you want to make that subtle difference.
Dior, what would you suggest to, let's say, Mr. Mid-level career, wanting to get out there, has, you know, some type of background in, you know, this. You know what? Let's go into our next song first, and then we'll come back and go into, you know, what would we suggest to the person who's trying to market a show, as opposed to marketing himself or herself as an artist, okay? And this next cut is called A Time for Peace, and this is Mr. Focus, ATL.
The new Collabo Live 106.5 FM.
In my voice, as long as my choice is music, good music and lyrics, gifted enough for my people to hear it. Not only hear it, but recognize the creator spirit and ignore those that make us fear it. So we can rap gifted lyrics in loose leaf, white and blue sheets, while you and I try to find a time for peace. It's just about that time, yeah, we need a time for peace. It's about that time, a time for peace. It's about that time, yeah, we need a time for peace. It's about that time, it's about that time like salt water to the wounded. The truth has become some sort of a nuisance, like an ulcer, drenched in acidic juices. The truth is written, it's proven, so listen before you choose it. It's God's will, so Mr. Green puts it in his music. The truth that is, the truth that gives melodies and poetry we speak when we all need a time for peace. It's about that time, yeah, we need a time for peace. It's about that time, y'all. Time for peace. It's about that time. Yeah, we need a time for peace. It's about that time. It's about that time. Events like Genesis just don't make sense. Imagine if we demonstrated for bigger checks and better education. The world, could we change it? The answer must be sacred, based on the pictures we paint with arts and entertainment. It's amazing watching rap and garbage trade places, testing the patience of patrons that pray for goodness gracious. We need a time for peace. Yeah, y'all, check it, it's about that time, yeah, a time for peace. It's about that time, y'all, we need a time for peace. Yeah, we need a time that time, we need about that time. It's about that time, it's about that time. Time when you got peace, it don't matter what else you got. That holds true with this strong, subtle caress. So even during the unjust, just give me peace in this experience with no vents to straddle, no fears of battle. So the Lord will give us the things that serenity brings, like will on the keys, focus on the MIC. Yo, we need a time for peace. It's about that time. In the air, yeah. Break it down, where? Break it down, where? Yeah. It's about that time. Yeah, we need a time for peace. It's about that time, y'all. We need a time for peace. I'm saying about that time. What y'all need? We need a time for peace. Peace signs in the air, peace signs everywhere. Yes. We need a time for peace.
Yeah.
Hey, baby.
Hey.
So how's your day going?
Good.
How'd that meeting go?
Huh? Yeah. Wow.
You're driving your Jetta right now, aren't you?
That's great.
You know, monkey juice is delicious if you're wearing comfortable pants.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I'm having an affair with the plumber. He's here right now. You want to talk to him?
Uh-huh. Wow, what are you gonna do?
Can I borrow your Jetta tomorrow?
What do you need it for?
With a 200 horsepower VR6 engine, a 6-speed manual transmission, and 17-inch alloy wheels, Volkswagen Jetta GLI owners take driving seriously. A little too seriously. Make sure to test drive the 200 horsepower Jetta GLI today.
Promo pack. Calling all artists. Submit your music. All unsigned artists, please submit your music to startimepromo@gmail.com. We can promote your music and get you the exposure that you need to further your career. Again, that email is startimepromo@gmail.com. Again, startimepromo@gmail.com.
It's your boy Magic, representing here for A&J Connections. You need to be down with them because they can give you that real total exposure. You need to contact them, A&J Connections @gmail.com. Once again, A&J Connections, your real connections to total exposure. It's your boy Magic, representing here for A&J Connections. You need to be down with them because they can give you that real total exposure. You need to contact them, A&J Connections @gmail.com. Once again, A&J Connections, your real connections to total exposure.
The new Collabo Live 106.5 FM.
Hold on, guys. We're back on Collabo Live 106.5 FM, and we're going into Sweet by Sean O'Brien Scott Smith. And we're going to go ahead and let that play in the background, and we're talking now with Dior Metcalf of Best of Atlanta Concerts. We're in studio with Mr. JAZZMAN himself, Keet Gilchrist, and we've been joined on the line by Miss Angela Moore P. Thorpe. Her name's like a sentence. It's like a long name. And she's a publicist. What we were talking about is how is it that, or what is it that you would actually say to Mr. mid-career artist about marketing your shows, getting the shows seen, heard, and then to jump into as an artist, how would you market yourself, mid-level career, trying to go from just being that restaurant gig guy to being somebody who's going on tour, getting out there? And I'll start with you, Angela, since you just joined us. How do you feel about that?
For the artist who is mid-market and already out there a little bit, I would just say come up with something new and refreshing each month. Have some type of campaign for yourself. If you know you're going to be playing at an establishment that does not do any advertisement, that should make you want to do even more advertisements. And social media is an excellent avenue. It's free. You have Twitter, you have Facebook, plus hundreds of other ones that you can sign up and put your stuff out there, put your information out there free. I've met so many jazz artists recently, and when we end the conversation and it comes time for a business card, most of them don't even have a business card.
Ooh. Yeah.
So they take my card and write on the back, and that's not really a business card. Is free advertising. Another thing they can do is have postcards printed up and carry the postcards. I keep postcards in the back seat of my car. If I ever run out of business cards, I have postcards. That's something that's really, really inexpensive that an artist can have done with their latest album cover and have their contact information on the back and their web address and everything. And make sure you have a web address.
Yes.
I mean, now it's kind of ridiculous not to have a website in this day and time because there's so many places out there that is free. You can get a free website now. Of course, you get what you pay for. So if you get a free one, most likely it's not going to be, you're competing with other artists. So you got to make sure your image is camera ready.
Right.
So when you get the cheap ones or the lower level free ones, most of what you put on there, it's going to be on there and it can look nice. Something is better than nothing, but you're not going to be competing with the top of the line artists.
Angela, you just said something about image, and this is like kind of where I have a big issue with, what the hell is up with the jazz music industry from the artist standpoint. I look at a lot of artists and they have zero concept for image, and a lot of people are on this thing where it's comfortable to play a certain way. And I'm like, okay, well that's cool if mom and pop are hanging out with you and that's what you want to do. You have no desire to market yourself beyond the people who you hang out with or the people who you see on a regular basis. But I feel like personally, it benefits to put some money into an image. Dior, what do you think about that? Because you deal with a lot of bigger name concerts. And I mean, I know you see the same people that I do, and they come and they'll have on a shirt hanging out their pants and pants sagging, performing.
We had a lot of conversations about that, and of course, image is always important because not even just because you're an artist, but anytime you're doing business, you want to present yourself in the most positive way possible, and in the most professional way possible. And that seemed to be something that a lot of musicians are kind of taking for granted in a sense, because I think in their head, with them attempting to try to read their minds, is that they try to put most of the attention on the music as where it should be. However, as I mentioned before, this is a show business, and so part of it is show. So you have to be presentable and have to be something almost like a fantasy, entertainment, or in the entertainment business, you basically are selling fantasies to people and escapism. And so you want to try to play to the image that you're taking them on a journey somewhere to an experience.
Right.
You don't want that experience to be right in their own living room. They already have that.
Exactly.
You want to be able to present yourself in a way that that makes you be seen in the best light as possible as a professional entertainer. So that means, wearing decent clothes or nice clothes. That means, even, like you said, having your material ready as far as like marketing-wise, business cards and Facebook and website.
You just hit a button for me.
Together.
You said having your material ready. Now that goes into rehearsal. For me, I have a major issue with people who do not rehearse. And I mean, it's starting to be to the point where I can literally tell, and I have called out some people, not publicly, but, in conference with them, I know you didn't rehearse, and I can tell because I know how the song is supposed to sound and I know how it usually sounds because you guys are using the same song as many others because you didn't rehearse. But I'm wanting to know, what it is that is causing a lot of people to not rehearse and then put on, I don't want to say that word, but a partial show, not the full quality of what the audience is expecting. And I think that actually gleans to what is stopping people from coming back out to the shows, in droves like they would. Because I see people who can book one show, and yeah, they may pack the show out, but the second time they come back, it's not that many people. And I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I've seen that before. There's no point in me seeing it.
Right. Well, I feel that people, as an artist, if you're going to want people to actually pay for you to watch you, you have to put on a great show that's tight, that's performed to the highest quality possible. And I don't see how you can do anything to the highest quality possible without practicing and becoming good at it. And fine-tuning your craft. That kind of shows a level of seriousness, actually. If you take pride in what you do, you don't want to go on stage unless you can put together the best show possible in whatever role you're playing, either as a band leader or a side band. I think a lot of musicians tend to get caught up in the gun for hire kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
Where they only want to, it's easier because you just show up, you play. However, you're kind of shortchanging yourself and your image as a musician. Because if you don't put out the best quality and you have, even if it's 10 people watching you, those 10 people are going to associate you with inferior products. So it's always advantageous in anything in life is to put out the best possible product. And in music in particular, I think you definitely got to practice that. Even though people say I've been doing this since I was
4 years old.
4 years old or 5 years old. The music is constantly changing. You got to constantly be updating. You can't keep doing the same performance you did when you were 3 or 4 or 5 years old. So you got to stay with the times. You got to make sure you got to spice that performance up. You can't do the same show all the time. Because people not going to pay for that. People like fresh. People like inventiveness. People like exciting. And none of that is going to happen if you have a stale old show that you've done 100 times backwards and forwards without practicing. That's my little piece on that.
Okay, I want to go into one of our stellar performers who has been nominated, has had a confirmation for, not a confirmation. He is he is up for a nomination of 7 Grammys for A Time Gone By, and that's Mr. Mace Hibbert. I think all of us have a little love for Mace right now. Mace is bananas. And Dior, you've had more interaction with him than anybody else, haven't you?
Well, I guess I don't know how much interaction anybody else had with him, but I haven't had a whole lot with Mace. But I have worked with him a couple of times, and then I worked with him through Joe Grant's big band. He always plays the big band at Cafe 290. I've worked with him in very limited capacity so far.
Yeah, so the considerations for the Grammys, what do you feel that, he, Melvin Jones, Joe Granston are doing that are setting them above, the rest of the jazz musicians? You have Melvin Jones with 5 considerations. You have Joe Granston. Of course, Joe Granston. I think the big band by itself is, setting him apart from everybody. And then you have Melvin, who is stellar in the community. You know, he's had a lot of, you know, accolades, period, from the time that he was even in college here in Atlanta. You know, band director, drum major, etc.
Yeah.
It has a show actually coming up November 25th at Churchill Grounds at 9:30. Finally, I should say, has another show coming up. What do you think it is that they're doing that's setting them apart?
Well, first of all, they've concentrated on putting out the best product they can. I mean, when those guys go out there and play, every time they play with intensity, like it's their last time. And so you can definitely feel it in the performances.
Absolutely.
Those guys. And which goes to your point earlier as far as people kind of not practicing and not taking it seriously. Those guys totally do that. I mean, they're totally bought into their own performance whenever they play. And people respond to that. I think secondly, as far as especially Joe Granson, because he probably do more shows out of those three guys than any of those. I think what his thing is, he kind of reinvents himself a lot in different capacities. He has a big band, he has a trio, he does some other things where he teams up with people a lot, and even with his ongoing shows, he as far as the big band, he's changing them out. So in any kind of environment, a show, you have to keep it fresh. You have to keep it innovative. You got to keep it new. You got to keep it interesting, and I think he does a really good job of doing that, and it shows. And then the show itself is always entertaining. He's engaging.
Engaging. I think that's a major issue a lot of people are lacking. Listen, I'm going to go into Mace Hibbard's Remembrance of Things Past, and this is off of A Time Gone By, and I mean, I love this song. Love it. So we're going into that now, and then we'll come back and we're going to talk a little bit more with the promoters.
The new Collabo Live 106.5 FM.
Live 106.5 FM. You are on Go Live with Cairo Qween. I'm here in the studio with Mr. Keet, a.k.a. the JAZZMAN. On the line, we have Fontaine Lewis of Fontaine Lewis Productions. We have the Publicist, Miss Angela P. Moore Thorpe. And then we have Dior of Best of Atlanta Concerts. Now, that was Mace Hibbard, and I promise you, everybody in here was feeling, remembrance of things past. That's from Time Gone By on his Grammy-nominated consideration CD. I mean, that song for me is just it. It just does it. Everything I needed to do. And the CD, the whole CD is like that. He doesn't have one bad song on there, not one. So those of you who don't have that CD, go buy it today. It's on iTunes. You can go get it in the store. Go buy it. You need a copy of that. It'll change your life. So listen, Fontaine, you just came in. We're up here talking about what the hell is up with the jazz music industry and what is the Band-Aid. Of course, we are the promoters. Fontaine, Angela, and Dior, I want you to tell everybody a little bit about what you do individually. Fontaine, we'll start with you. We'll finish with you.
I manage a couple of acts around in the Atlanta area, and I also try to do shows, restaurants, hotels. We do college circuit out of town, but I just try to keep the music alive the best I can.
Okay. And what are some of the acts that you work with?
Got a female group called Mamacita.
Mamacita.
And old school R&B, Motown, Supremes, girl group tribute type songs, and we do a Frank Sinatra tribute that we did our last show at Cafe 290 a few months back. And I'm also working with a couple guys in a group called Blackshire, who came out of the Prince and the Blue Power Generation camp.
Ooh, Prince, Lord. Purple Rain Prince. Ooh, Purple Rain Prince. All right, that's Fontaine Lewis, Fontaine Lewis Productions. Fontaine Lewis also is a wonderful photographer. He does great video work. He has an awesome camera. I don't know what it's called, but man, when I say makes me look like $1 million. So. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, it's the eye. He's been doing it since he was 2, so he came out the womb taking photos. So, Angela. Yes, can you chime in and let everybody in the world know what it is that you do?
Okay, I do public relations. My company is APM Public Relations, and basically I keep people in the media. I also do social media promotions, and that can be anything from creating a press release, press kit, a bio, doing the content for their website, press tours, grand openings, red carpet events. We also do speaking engagements and grand openings, CD release parties. I work with 3 jazz artists. One just got signed on the label this past weekend.
Wow.
And I also work with 1 actor. And then I have a judge in Arkansas. Work with a little bit of everybody, but mainly trying to break in and stay in the music and film industry.
Angela's actually being very modest. She has her hands on a whole bunch of people. I won't say the people's names, but you guys know who you are. Angela has done some magnificent work for a lot of artists in Atlanta, jazz musicians.
One of the best.
Man, Angela is never available because she is always busy. That's probably a person that you should be paying $100 to talk to a minute, but she's very humble in her conversation with people and allowing people to come in and servicing them. So that's Angela P. Moore Thorpe. Look her up on Facebook. She'll always talk to you. And Dior, Best of Atlanta Concerts, another hard-to-reach person, hard to get in touch with because he is always on the move. Dior, what do you do?
Well, Best of Atlanta Concerts, what we do is we spotlight the live music scene here in Atlanta. and we do a lot of advertising and promotions for concerts and live events for around the city. We work with over 350 shows a year, so we have a lot of venues and organizations that we work with. Some of the top ones in the city, and some of the top promoters. We work with Fontaine. Love working with Fontaine. Got a great show he does there.
We heard Fontaine.
Thank you, Leo. So that's what we do. We just make sure people know about great events, and we get the word out. And to our audience, we have an audience of over 40,000 people a month that we reach, and we love to let people know what's going on.
Great. And you know, I used to be offended because I used to see that. I'd be like, Best of Atlanta Concerts. What about mine? No, but he really does. He has his hands on Sean Jones, as a matter of fact. On this Saturday, Sean Jones will be at Spivey Hall under one of your promotions for Best of Atlanta Concerts. I'll be there as I broadcast for Best of Atlanta Concerts, and I guess Fontaine Lewis, because we were all having a great time at the Snarky Puppy concert in collaboration with Simply the Best.
Don't sleep on Snarky Puppy. I tried to tell them, don't
Snarky
sleep
Puppy
on
was
Snarky
bonkers. I'm talking about a 12-man band on one stage killing it. It was so awesome. And I mean, horn section. Wow. It was like 3 keyboards, 3 drum sets. It was nasty. It was
Definitely check out the videos on my YouTube channel.
And that was all, Fontaine Lewis, Facebook, and on YouTube. Now
Fontaine TV.
Fontaine TV on YouTube. You definitely want to give, a praise to John Roberts for bringing back live music and allowing people to do their music. Mm-hmm. That's another issue for me, here in the city, is that a lot of venues will make people, force them to come and do,
Right.
covers for songs that everybody else in the city is doing. So it really doesn't give them a chance to differentiate their identity. Keet, JAZZMAN, let's talk about what you do as far as this jazz connection is going, as far as all of us, being intertwined with each other, and what it is that you provide to the jazz community.
What I do is advertising and promotions, and I try to be the connection wizard for a lot of jazz artists across the United States. One of my goals is to mix and mingle artists from different areas of the United States, bringing them here, trying to push guys out to other parts of the country. So just trying to really network hard using the social network. I'm part of the 5 top social networks.
Yes, you are.
I send out a jazz email blast to over 8,000 people once a week with all the stuff that's going on here in Atlanta, from all the people that you hear on the call now, all their people, all the promoters, because I get emails and phone calls every day. How hot is Atlanta? Atlanta is really one of the hottest spots in the country.
And they don't even know it.
They don't even know it. The artists don't even know it.
Not even just the artists, but I feel like, Atlanta itself has no idea what it's sitting on top of. There is a gold mine in Atlanta for music. Just with the artists that we personally know, from Lisa, D. Lucas, your Melvin, your Joe Mace, your Dwan Bosmans, your Antoine Knights, your Will Gobbles, your Goble, you have people like Jason Marsalis coming to Atlanta wanting to do shows. You know what I mean?
Right, it's crazy.
People, Tony Exum, everybody, Brandon Marcel wants to come to Atlanta and do shows here because they hear about the artists that we have here and they know that we have this product, but it's like the people here could care less. What is that about?
They're spoiled rotten. They are spoiled rotten. Really, because they get to see free shows, they get to see shows for less, and they're spoiled rotten.
I would like to speak on that.
Please speak on it. He's getting ready to take it to the church, I promise you. Lay out the pulpit. Hold on.
Come on with it.
I think I would have to just go back to what we were saying earlier, is that you got to be innovative with your show.
Yes, sir.
People, they are not going to see the same show they've seen 5 times already. So if you keep doing fresh new shows, you give people fresh new reasons to go out and see those shows. And we talking about Fontaine. That's one reason I like his group is that they put on a fantastic show, but they always do something a little different. They always have something fresh, and they have a show concept. They know what they're trying to do with their show. So you got to keep all that in mind, and people are not going to just pay their hard-earned money, especially in this kind of environment, to just see somebody play some live music they A, probably never heard of before, and B, with music they hear all the time from everybody else. So you got to be original. You got to put something, like I said, compelling together, and it starts there. And of course, it goes without saying, you have to be good at what you do. You have to play your instrument well. You have to be a good composer, do original music so you can have your own unique voice in this landscape with thousands of artists. You have to be unique. You have to be individual. Then once you have that, you have to be able to put something compelling together that makes people want to go out and spend that money.
I do not know how many different times I hear people say, yeah, they were good, but, they do the same song list as everybody else. That's the same music.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same show. I hear that from more than one different venue in Atlanta, and they're really tired of paying for that because it doesn't draw the crowd more than once. You can bring in your fan base because you haven't had a show in 12 months, but then you come to the show and then they ask you to come back because you packed it out the first time, but then you come back and it's like, yeah, it's the same show. And then it was the same music that guy played the week before that you weren't at, but he was playing that music and the venue's like, well, yeah, nothing exciting there. No, nobody's coming back out for that. And it doesn't say anything about your ability to play. It just says you need to do something different. You got to do something different. You got to be more innovative. You got to do a little more improv. I mean, that for me is the thing that I keep looking for is more people to get in between those songs or to rearrange the songs. Take I tell people, like, take Back That Thing Up and put it on a swing beat.
I mean, it's a lot of things you can do to stay innovative. I mean,
you have to be innovative.
Theme
That's
songs
true.
or tribute concerts. I know, or you can. It's a bunch of things you can do. I mean, so you got to constantly think you can have new guests come in and perform with you to kind of change up the feel. I mean, but you got to change it up. Like you said, people can go out to that show maybe once or twice. If you're going to perform more than once or twice a year, you got to keep it fresh and keep it interesting.
Well, okay, so let's get off the artist. Let's talk about the industry itself. Did you want to say something, Angela?
Yes, I want to add something in. Another thing, not only change up the music, but make sure you put the energy into your performance.
Yes, ma'am.
Because a lot of times the artists get up on the stage and they act like they could care less if they're there or not.
She gets a gold star.
People can feel your energy when you're performing.
Amen.
I always tell people, I'm like, it takes me 2 hours to get dressed to go to any show I go to. I expect for them to show out when I get there, and then when they don't, I get mad. I'm like, what did I come here for? I'm like, if I can get dressed up to come see you, I think you should at least put some clothes on.
Right.
That's just the way I feel about it. And at least, give me a presentation that I can go home and tell people about. And I think a lot of people know when I get excited, I'll go blast it. I go and blast it all over the place. Let's go into our next cut. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about the actual industry and what the hell is up with it and what's the Band-Aid. We're going to go into a little bit of Joe Granston. It's called Close to My Heart. Now, this is actually a song produced by Kenny G. That's how bad Joe is. Kenny G called him to produce his song.
Recently, we at Saturn totally redesigned the mid-size L series to make it more elegant. However, in the case of valet operator Martin Wenzel, we may have made it a little too elegant. Go ahead, Martin.
Well, I was working at the Chez Charles downtown, and this brand new Saturn L Series pulls up. So I'm thinking, this guy's going to be a big tipper.
A fair assumption.
So I'm like, I got this one, but the other valet Stan says, no, I got it. So I say, no, I got it. And he's like, no, I got it. So I say, no, I got it.
Yeah.
And he says, no,
Why don't you skip ahead a little bit?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so I grab the keys, and then Stan gets in my face.
He got all up in your grill, didn't he?
Yeah, and he's like, car hog, and I'm like, as if.
Well played, Martin.
Thanks.
Well, there you have it. The elegantly redesigned L Series from Saturn. Did we go too far? Find out for yourself by visiting your local Saturn retailer today.
Then another L Series Saturn
Here's a
pulls
snap,
up.
and it's a long pass to that big guy. But the other guy almost made an intersection. And now the wide deceiver is heading for the big pointy things. No, wait, the guy in the black and white shirt dropped his yellow handkerchief. It doesn't go with stripes. And the crowd agrees.
Forgetfulness, another side effect of hunger. Grab a Snickers bar. It's got the peanuts, caramel, and chocolate you need.
So on behalf of this guy here on my left, I'm me saying so long, hockey fans.
Snickers, don't let hunger happen to you.
Promo pack, calling all artists. Submit your music. All unsigned artists, please submit your music to startimepromo@gmail.com. We can promote your music and get you the exposure that you need to further your career. Again, that email is startimepromo@gmail.com. Again, startimepromo@gmail.com.
The new Collabo Live 106.5 FM.
Smoky Room with Mr. Wendell Holmes. You're back on Collabo Live 106.5 FM. This is Go Live with your girl, Cairo Qween. Now listen, we're on this line with the promoters because we're talking about what the hell is up with this jazz music industry and what's the Band-Aid. We're really getting ready to get down to the heart of it. We're going to open up the phone lines.
Let me say a shout out to Mr. T.O. Johnson.
Miss T.O. Johnson?
Yeah, T.O. Johnson, checking us out here on Collabo
Hey,
Live.
T.O. Everybody say hi to T.O.
Hey, you can
T.O. Johnson.
and you can call in at 404-567-5831.
That's 404-567-5831.
That's right, and talk live with the Queen.
And everybody else.
Yeah.
Because we're getting down to it. Guys, we want to get into what's the issue, actual issue. Do you feel, what the hell is up with the jazz music industry? And what's the Band-Aid? I'll let everybody go individually, and then we'll chime in until people start calling in. Go ahead, Keith. JAZZMan.
Ooh, how do you fix that? Yeah, it's crazy. You know, from losing the jazz stations.
That's a major issue.
That is, to me, that's major. And I talk with Fontaine and Doc Robinson all the time about this, the same thing. I mean, even though we have public stations, but there's nothing that they can compare to with a true radio station and a true jazz station at that. And it's just across the board from every state. You know, they shutting down in Detroit. They shut them down here. You know, every state, every major city, I'm kind of hearing the same thing. You know, so
every state.
To really put a Band-Aid on, it's really going to be hard. You know, because you know, doing that, it's going to funnel down to the clubs not getting the proper advertisement.
Can't get on a radio
you
station
can't get on
anywhere.
radio, you know.
Doesn't blend with the music.
Yeah.
I want to send a personal challenge out to all of you rich people out there, people who have money, people who have any kind of clout. Put money in radio. Put money where it'll last. Give it some historical value because, see, music is historic. And you actually could literally end up doing something that matters with your money. You know, we can invest in money. We can hold money and sit on money and not let money rotate in the community and stop the economy from growing. Put your money into the community. Put it into radio. Put it into these musicians. Keep this music alive. If you want to do something humanitarian, put it on jazz. Because jazz, we don't want it to die off. It's a significant issue for all of the community if jazz, you know, takes the turn of classical music.
Right.
So I mean, we're sitting here fighting with boxing gloves on, you know, and in unison. You know, we don't compete. We're combining our efforts right now to say this to all the world. You know, put your money on jazz. I promise you won't lose.
Most definitely.
Angela, what do you think?
I think that's an excellent idea. We need to give back to the community. We don't want jazz to die down in the city right now. Jazz, you can go everywhere and hear great jazz, but if people don't start investing in it, it's no telling which way it goes because the radio stations across the country are already almost obsolete. Now we're having to listen online, which is good, but it's not good if you want to listen to jazz in your car. When
That's
you travel.
except Collabo Live 106.5, of course. We're keeping jazz music alive right here, okay?
Yeah, we're gonna try and push this to the mainstream level.
Okay. Now, Fontaine, what do you feel? I think we all have similar viewpoints on this. So, I mean, I think it's good that we all express it from the standpoint of a unified front. So, we talk about this all the time. So, go ahead, Fontaine.
Yeah, it's just so difficult when once the 107.5 of the world went off the air, you could see the immediate difference in going to a Sambuca where it used to be standing room only on a Thursday night and a Sunday night when you bring in national acts from around town. But I think a lot of it just with the local scene, I think a lot of people are just so spoiled because they can go out to a camp on a Thursday or on a Sunday night at Cafe 290 and see some of the best musicians, in the city that are, international musicians that get love overseas, but can't get love right here in their own backyard.
That's
and
crazy.
I think people just get so spoiled and just take for granted. Oh, I go sing wherever or go see somebody, where it's gonna be free at an open mic or what have you. Just don't really see the understand what they really have right here in our backyard. And it just kind of it's sad. I try to do shows for free. It's the venue to pay for the band, and then you wonder if it's like, okay, well, maybe people think because it's a free show that it's just not going to be that good, or that the artists aren't that good, or so you put a put a cover charge.
Hold that thought, because Dior and I were talking about this Thursday after the concert. We need to start charging. Forget the places that actually pay, because they're really crippling our artists. Don't you think that? I mean, they're saying, well, okay, we'll give you this little bit of money, and that's your worth. So my thing is, let's build fan bases. Let's get big venues and sell tickets. And let's sell tickets that are so high, they don't have a choice but to pay them. Let's put on concerts and give these people that type of worth. And Dior, you can chime in better on this than I did, because he had a little bit more passion about it than I did on this one. So,
well, I guess to kind of incorporate what everyone is talking about, we kind of really talking about you got to have an infrastructure in place to support the art form. And I can't speak on a lot of cities, any other city. I guess maybe New York has that infrastructure, or New Orleans has that infrastructure. But you got to have organizations that are committed to supporting it. You were talking about actual music venues. That's like the lifeline, the backbone of any good music scene. If they have plenty of venues, so artists can play. If you don't have enough venues, then you have a glut of artists with no place to play. So you have to start with that. And of course, you got to have your media supporting it. You guys were mentioning radio. I believe you got to be able. People have to be able to know where to go to get the music, and you got to have ways to produce additional musicians. We don't seem to have that problem here, but I mean that's part of the mix also. You're talking about at your school level, your college level, keeping jazz and jazz musicians going, so we can have a next generation. And the generation we have now, they need to be able to fine-tune their skills by working with better musicians or more seasoned musicians, so they can become, so they increase their musicianship, and that goes back to the club. The best place to become a seasoned musician is to practice at an actual venue in front of an audience.
And not a restaurant.
Yeah, and not a restaurant, because the restaurant is a very, I always say with Best Atlanta Concerts, we believe in doing concerts and shows. We don't do live music because we like to have something. We consider a concert and a show is an experience, and that's what we are interested in giving people, or giving our audience, is experiences. So we don't do live music as far as having it in a corner in a restaurant somewhere, because that's a passive thing. You're not really there for that thing, for that kind of stuff. And we want people who are there for that experience. So I feel that another part of the infrastructure is the artists themselves, is making sure that they, again, going back to putting out the best product they can possibly put out, something that's unique. I keep going back to that because it's probably one of the most obvious things, and the things that probably get overlooked the most.
Yes.
If you're doing restaurant type shows, you're not putting out an experience. You're putting out some live music for people to kind of talk over. You're kind of secondary. If you want to create your value as an artist, you have to give them something more than just just passively playing music.
I think the most demeaning thing to me was when I had a show and I heard the owner tell me, we just want them to be background music. And I was like, do you know who that is? That hurt my feelings. So I'm not even the musician. I'm just the promoter or the agent or, booking. I'm the image consultant. I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, that is so demeaning. I mean, as far as, for you to tell me that you want these people to take what they have made their life's work and make it background music so people can talk over and eat food? Get out of here. And that's why I've been talking.
You know that's my pet peeve.
Yeah.
I don't do two set lists quite the same, because if we've had artists that may have passed away too soon, I'll immediately go back in. If we got a show coming up in 2 days, I'll go in and put in some Tina Marie, or whoever the case may be, and it's like pay homage to those people that have laid the groundwork. But it's like, yeah, I'm all about putting on a show. I want to touch a Vegas right here in Atlanta. I want to
exactly
make people sit up and take notice and say, let me stop what I'm doing. Let me stop on my dessert and let me see what's exactly happening here. And
right,
because I want to give people the biggest bang for their buck. And I want to show, because I know what I want when I put my hard-earned money down. So that's why I try to incorporate to a set listen into one of my shows.
Right. I think what artists seem to get confused. They kind of start to compare themselves to national artists with names, and they think they can do exactly the same thing that guy does. That guy, he's already put in his time. He has name recognition. You as a unknown independent artist, you don't have that same recognition. You have to do something that's a little bit more unique to get your name out there, and you have to build your fan base in order for you to get to where you can just go on stage with your jeans on.
I hear that same mantra going out of everybody's mouth: build your fan base. And I spoke to some artists, our big artists that are here, and I tried to get them booked somewhere this weekend. And I heard the bookie tell me, he was like, well, none of the artists that you work with. Hold on, guys, we got a call coming in. Let's see who this is. Thanks for calling Collabo Live 106.5 FM. You're on the line with Cairo Qween. Go live. Who am I speaking with?
Kenny Troy.
It's Kenny Troy from Harmony Jazz Alliance. Let's go ahead and conference Kenny Troy in, because Kenny Troy is actually calling out of North Carolina. He is a part of the Harmony Jazz Alliance, something that we all are technically connected with,
right.
Organization that is trying to support, uplift, and promote all jazz music as a whole and bring it back to a forefront. We're calling this the Jazz Renaissance, because we're going to bring this baby back to life whether you want it or not. Kenny Troy, thanks for calling in and joining with us. Have you been listening to the call or to the show?
Actually, I just got on. I caught a few comments, but I haven't caught too much. I just got on. I forgot most of the day. I said, man, I forgot she was on, and I found out the last minute, and here I am.
You're grounded. Listen, we're on Collabo Live 106.5 FM, and we are talking about what the hell is up with the jazz music industry and what is the Band-Aid. We're on part 3 with the promoters. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in-house. We have 1, and of course myself. We are sitting here discussing basically right now. We're like, well, what can we do to fix this issue? What is it that has to be done in order to fix, And my thing was, Keet said the radio stations. I'm like, education. We have to attack the education level, for a lot of these artists to get, their hands on young people and create a buzz. Because I tell people, like, when they released the iPhone, they put it on TV, but they were not attracting adults.
No.
They were attracting the kids. Any product that is released, anytime you do brand management, McDonald's will market a burger to the community, but it's really targeted at young people. Why? Because young people are sponges. So when they turn around and they involve themselves in this music and they say, I liked playing the instrument. They're never going to get to play these instruments because they don't get it at school. They don't get it at school. They never hear it on the radio because there's no jazz station on the radio except Collabo Live 106.5 FM on Tuesday. We definitely want to get more stations that are supporting live jazz music, supporting jazz artists, supporting this music genre. We are literally losing time right now because this has been a great call. But what we want to do is, get Kenny to chime in a little bit about his standpoint. Kenny, you and I have this conversation all the time, so go ahead, hit it.
Well, this is what I think. We have to go back in history on what has happened and what has occurred in jazz music. Now, let's go back to 1948, 49, and even the early 50s. Jazz was the center of a whole lot of households because people, all they had was radios then. So that was the center of you know, attention, and that's why jazz was at its highest height during that time. When the invention of TV came along, that sort of took jazz to another, took away from jazz as a whole. So if you want to trace back the problem of what jazz is, it all started back in the early 50s.
Are you blaming TV for the loss of jazz?
So that's first thing we have to do is we have to understand how did this decline, where did it all started? It started back then. And what happened was a lot of jazz was used during movies, more so than anything else. And a lot of artists were going through, you know, drug problems. There was a lot of things going on with artists getting paid and everything. So jazz all of a sudden became this depressing type of music where it lost its flavor during that time. So now here we are, we're 30, 40, 50 years later, and it's still declining. And because it was always been painted as this type of music that was very depressing, very, very dead because of what the artists go through. Now, this is just a different perspective of what I've heard so far throughout the show. I've even heard it from last week. But this is a more different perspective that I'm coming from.
Thank you for
because
that.
This is what has happened here over the years. Now, let's talk about the Band-Aid. The Band-Aid is basically many solutions. It's many-fold. Number one, education. You can't go wrong with that. You have to start it there.
Right.
We also have to get resources like the radio stations or buy up radio stations, and that's just basically forming these types of alliances like Harmony Jazz Alliance and everything else. And everybody has to really kind of work together for that single cause. We have a lot of alliances out here.
Lots.
Can you actually say that we're on the same cause, or are we all doing our own thing in their own state? So that's one of the things. We all have to come together as a conglomerate, because that's the only way that's going to be able to compete with this mega market that we have going on right now with the other genres of music.
I try to tell people, you know, the comparison of what hip-hop has done by comparison to what we do is that they are constantly marketing. Every hip-hop artist you know will make sure that every single person they know has their music. They don't care if they buy it. They know that when somebody plays their music, if they like it, they're going to go tell somebody. That's a 101 marketing. Word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Anybody that you know ought to know that you have a CD. Anybody that you know ought to know that you have a show. Anybody that you know ought to be friends of you on Facebook. Anybody that you know ought to be your friend on Twitter if they have a Twitter account. Everybody that you know ought to know that you're a musician. I have met so many musicians and then find their coworkers and go, I didn't even know you play instruments. Every person that you meet should know that you are an artist. And every person that you meet, if they're not putting money in your mouth by coming to your shows, cut them. I'm joking, but you know. Listen, I wanna drop a plug for the next show. We're going to start doing Rate the Music contest here on Collabo Live 106.5. So you artists that are out there listening, you know, if you want to get some real attention to your music, have your friends listen to us on Tuesdays to Collabo Live. We're going to play your music on 106.5 FM here in Atlanta, on 107.2 on the Rhythm Up station in New York, and in Miami on the Heavy. So that's giving you 3 states coverage plus worldwide on the internet. Radio and internet at the same time. So make sure you get all your friends to listen in. We're going to have your music played. We're going to rate your music. We're going to let people call in and critique your music. We're going to let you come in and talk about your music. So call in, get your friends to listen, get your friends to watch, get your people to support Collabo Live 106.5 FM. Go live with Cairo Qween. I want to thank all of my guests this evening for chiming in with me on this conversation. Mr. Keet Gilchrist, a.k.a. the JAZZMAN, thank you so much for joining me in studio. I want to thank Mr. Kenny Troy, who is calling out of North Carolina. I want to thank Mr. Fontaine Lewis, who is Fontaine Lewis Productions. I want to thank Miss A&M herself, Miss Angela P. Moore Thorpe. I want to thank Mr. Dior Metcalf from Best of Atlanta Concerts, all of the promoters who were chiming in on what the hell is up with the jazz music industry.
Look like you may have to do a 4.
We might have to do this again. What do you think, Doughboy? So we may have to. Yeah, we're gonna make a top 10 list. So everybody who's coming in, we're gonna get this music rated. So the top 10 artists, we're gonna give away a prize. What do you think about that?
That sounds like
we'll get some prizes together, and we'll give away prizes to people who can qualify for the top 10. Let's say the end of December. What do you think about that? You get your music on the top 10 by getting your fans to call in and vote for your music starting next week, 8:30 p.m. On what?
Hey.
Collabo Live, 106.5 FM. I'm going to go into my last song for this evening, but I want to send a shout out to DeJuan Bosman and Reggie Carter over at Sweet George's Juke Joint. Definitely want to tell you about Lenore J, who is going to be at Sweet George's Juke Joint this weekend on Saturday evening, along with DeJuan Bosman, saxophonist. They're going to be covering from 6:30 to 1 a.m. Saturday. We're also going to be doing a wedding party at the Green Gables. I also have Sean Jones, who is going to be at what is it, Dior Spivey Hall?
Spivey Hall.
What time?
Saturday.
Does anybody else have any shows this week?
Yeah. Mark Adams is going to be over at, who is he going to be? Some kid in it.
Sean Adams?
Mark Adams.
Mark Adams, okay.
He's a piano for Roy Ayers, and he has about 3 CDs out.
Okay. Well, we want to support all of these live musicians here in Atlanta. Have, of course, my fave, Mr. Melvin Jones, who will be at Churchill Grounds on the 25th of November at 9:30 p.m. Make sure you get your tickets. You might be able to get them in advance. Go see Sam Yee. Listen, I want to thank everybody for joining Collabo Live 106.5 FM. You are on Go Live with Cairo Qween. Don't forget about us next week. And this is now Rua 6. That's who we're going to close out with tonight. Rua 6. This is my Latin jazz friends. And I think a band of Mr. Fontaine Lewis. Juan, I want to say hi to you out there. This is your song.
Juan Badini and the crew.
This is my song, actually. Bakuda. It's not... That's okay. Well, I guess we'll let's go to Besame Mucho by Laura Coyle. Laura Coyle featuring Mr. Melvin Jones on trumpet and that's track number 11. We definitely want to go ahead and play. Okay, well, we'll go ahead into Tribulation then and close out with Jacob Deaton. Jacob Deaton, who is Tribulation. Okay, Jacob Deaton, who is on Tribulation. And I want to thank you guys for joining us this evening. Well, guys, we try to play your music. We're going to get it straight next week, okay? We love you. Thank you for joining us. May the Lord watch between me and thee while we're absent one from another. Until next time, go live.
The new Collabo Live 106.5 FM.